Welcome to Decades of Horror in the 1970s.
What unit are you with? Why are you here? Why are you doing this to us?
This is episode 130, recorded December 30th, 2020.
Gruesome Magazine.
I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host Jeff Mohr and I will tackle another classic, or not so classic, film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. Tonight, we are reviewing George A. Romero's The Crazies from 1973. This is going to be a blast, but let's introduce the host this week. Joining me tonight is Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing good. I'm toasty in my house with the snowstorm outside.
Toasty in the house. All right. I like that. All right. Also joining us tonight is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and all around.
From a giallo.
Yeah, but not maybe a nice guy, but not a very bright guy. I drove through the aforementioned snowstorm to get to Kentucky on my way back home to North Carolina. And this is like the second year in a row I've done this, and it was a bad idea last year. It wasn't any better this year. So don't drive through the snow if you have to go through Wisconsin and Minnesota, because they don't plow their roads until it stops snowing, which for all I know, it hasn't stopped.
Does it ever stop snowing?
It never stops. It's like, and you'd think they would know how to drive in the snow with so much experience, but not so much. So. Yeah, but anyway, safe and sound, and here I am in a hostage closet.
That's because there's guys from North Carolina on the highway.
That's true.
That is, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, 100% accurate.
You're outnumbered. You're outnumbered, Jeff. Be careful.
Oh, no. All right. Also joining us tonight is Chad Hunt, comic book artist and co-host of Decades of Horror, the Classic Era, wearing his AC/DC shirt. How you doing, Chad Hunt?
I'm crazy. That's how I am.
Crazy.
His prices are insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
Thousands of mattresses in the back.
Oh, my.
Wow.
Oh, some laundering
He's
going
crazy.
on. All right. All right. We are going to talk about The Crazies tonight from 1973. What we're going to do is give our first impressions. When did we first see this? What do we think of it? And then we're going to get into all the fun details and wrap things up at the end. But let's go over some stuff here. What is this film? It is The Crazies. It came out March 16th, 1973 from director George A. Romero. It's a name you should be familiar with. He wrote a screenplay based on a script by Paul McCollough. And the cast includes Carroll, Will McMillan, Harold Wayne Jones, Lloyd, Holler, Lynn Lowry. There's a name we might recognize. Richard Liberty and Richard France, among others. You're going to recognize some of these faces from other films, and we're going to share all that. But yes, the tagline is, why are all the good people dying? Well,
no one knows.
Yeah, 73, 2020. Synopsis is a military attempts to contain a man-made combat virus that causes death and permanent insanity in those infected, not affected, infected. As the illness overtakes a small Pennsylvania town. Of course, George Romero is going to be Pennsylvania, right?
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do this. When did we first see this? It came out in 73. Did we see it in 73? Because it was released on a double bill. Somebody might know what the double bill was. No? Yeah, no. Okay. I think it's in our notes somewhere. We'll dig in. And what you think of it? That's what we're going to do. And Chad Hunt, you chose this, so you're going first, sir.
I rented this. Long time ago in a land far away from an old Jedi man. I rented it, and that's the last time I saw this. It was way back. I can't even remember what year it was, but it was George Romero. So, I love George Romero. So I started getting into some of his non-zombie movies like Martin and those kind of things. So I hadn't watched The Crazies, so I rented it. And when I saw it, I just thought it was kind of a weird movie for him to make. I don't know if you exactly call it horror. I guess it could be a biological horror or something. But as a kid renting it, I didn't care for it that well. So, every year I would go, it would be in my queue on whatever streaming service. And I'm like, I have it. Nah, I'm not going to do it. Nah, I'm not going to watch it. But then I said, well, The Crazies. And I knew what it was about. So I was like, well, the current state of affairs the world is in now, maybe we can revisit this and sort of see what the correlations are between 70s and now as far as handling these type of things. And it's pretty much handled the same way.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But I can't say that it's one of Romero's best movies, but I do like a lot of the ideas behind it and the concepts behind it and stuff like that. I enjoyed the remake a lot more, from the 2010 remake with Timothy Oliphant. It was production wise, it was better acted and production values and that kind of thing. But again, it suffered from a lot of things. Like, I don't think Romero edited this one.
No, he was the editor.
He was the editor.
He did.
And that's usually one of his strongest suit. I mean, he's like as good a editor as he is a director. There was just a lot of things that it was.
Maybe he didn't have the footage.
yeah, maybe. But I don't know. I can't say that I really. It's one that I still like, but I just don't feel like it's his best movie. And I'm sure they did the best they could with what they had, but it's interesting to me, but it's at the same time, it's not a great film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the budget for this was around $270,000, and it was a he worked. This was worked on with the same company it did There's Always Vanilla. So these two films kind of struggled with him. So interesting stuff. So, all right, Bill Mulligan, sir. When did you first see this, and what was your first impression?
I'm not sure if I caught this on video or if I caught this at the cool little theater that showed double features when I was at college. I feel like it might have been that. And I had heard about it. I remember reading about it in, I think, Castle of Frankenstein magazine, and specifically hearing about the scene, still my favorite scene in the movie, with the little old lady, the little knitting grandma. And that particular scene, I agree. I like Romero's editing a lot, and this one doesn't have as many examples of how good his editing could be. But I think the opening, yes, the scene with the knitting lady and everything, there's those set pieces. He does it very well. He tells the story real well with editing. There just aren't that many pieces like that. And I feel, watching it now, I agree. It's not top tier Romero, but it's interesting Romero because of where it takes place. This is his return really to horror movies after Night of the Living Dead. And then he does There's Always Vanilla, Season of the Witch, which not really horror. And then he goes back to this. This movie feels like the stopgap between Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. At the end of Night of the Living Dead, we're winning. We're beating the zombies. We're taking a lot of casualties along the way, stupidly, but we're clearly, humans are taking care of this mess. And then by the opening of Dawn of the Dead, everything's gone completely south. The complete reversal. It didn't work. Everything's gone to hell. I feel like this is the movie that explains what happened in between. That they thought they had it under control, and no, things really rapidly went bad, spread, and all that. Now, these aren't zombies. This doesn't take place in the same zombie universe, but take the infected people and replace them with zombies, and I think you have the story of how we went from night to dawn. So in that sense, it's interesting. It's like his first attempt at kind of an apocalypse story, which would then just take off with Dawn and Day. So I find it an interesting film. I think it's really ambitious. They didn't have what they needed to really tell the story well. But then again, I don't know. I'm looking at now in the COVID years. I mean, this is sort of the paranoid belief of what's happening with COVID, that any moment now, guys in white suits and goggles are going to come running in and jabbing you with vaccines that trace your call, because God knows we don't walk around with things that can tell the government where we are at every moment of the day.
No, we don't ever do that.
Got to secretly put a microchip into us. Yeah, that's how things work.
Product
But but I also feel the one thing that really kind of gets me, Romero could be a little heavy-handed with the politics, and every time we cut to the military guys, when you have this military drum thing going in the background, I'm like, a little subtlety would have gone a long way there. His love for library music sometimes works, and sometimes it's like, we should have gone with an original score. I do kind of like the remake. That I think the remake took the premise and went further with it. But again, this is a Vietnam movie. This is very much a Vietnam era movie.
Very much so. Very much.
Yeah. So we have to look at it in that context. And so it's an interesting Romero movie. It's not top tier, but it's definitely, I think, essential viewing.
All right. I like what you're saying there, because there's a lot more to jump on those last comments there. All right, Jeff Mohr, sir, when did you first catch The Crazies, and what was your first impression?
Not that long ago. I saw the remake first. I don't know, a few years ago is when I saw the original. I love the remake because Timothy Oliphant, and it was set in Iowa, although I think most of it was shot in Georgia.
Probably.
Some stuff shot in Iowa. Anyway. It looked like Iowa, but I like that, and I like the how crazy the person was at the beginning, and they kind of do that here. But this is one of those movies on like second and third viewing. I'm appreciating it a little more. Yeah, it's pretty rough. And I think Chad was talking about the editing, and it's a very frenetic editing. There's like I read somewhere about this, and I read about something else. I'll bring up it, but I started counting them, and there was like, at least in the first like half hour or so, there's hardly any cuts that are longer than 2 or 3 seconds. It's just like switch, and I think they kind of do that on purpose to express the craziness of it, I guess. The energy and the how chaotic everything is. But I also read that he was trying to do some, and you guys help me out here, because I haven't been on any movie sets or anything, but was trying to do in-camera editing, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shooting a shot, shoot. The way I took it, so that's why the shots are so quick. There was no overall cover shot of most of the scenes.
Usually there'll be a whole shot, and they'll chop that up.
Yeah.
But it seemed like he was doing it, on in camera.
Which kind of gives it a documentary look. When you think of again, this is if you think of it as a Vietnam movie, the scenes that we saw from Vietnam were just people walking around with cameras. They weren't shooting it cinematically. They were just holding the camera, hoping they didn't step on a landmine or something. So some of that gives it that look. It's kind of hard to remember back when I was a kid turning on the news, and this is what you saw from Vietnam. This home video horror show.
So that's kind of what got me to, is there are shots in here that are like one of the shots in Night of the Living Dead that really resonates with me is the law enforcement, or even some of the locals with the dogs and the rifles, chasing people down and shooting them. And it just reminds me so much of the news footage of some of the Civil War riots and arrests and things and protests that took place in the 60s. So in this one, what kind of got to me was the overall incompetence of the government and the military. and it's not the first movie to do that, but oh my God, is it relevant right now? People going out telling you what's going to go on and how they're doing and what's going to be great, and the next thing you know is they don't know everything, and other people are doing different things, and it just goes nuts. And here's these guys down there, the guys with the guns, the boots on the ground, we're just doing what they ordered us to do, which is, like shoot people if they give you trouble, so you're shooting American citizens. And in this case, maybe it's still true, I don't know. But in this case, the good guys are wearing masks and you can't tell who they are, which kind of reminds me of, with some of the stuff that happened last summer with the,
and they can't see, which is,
yeah. Well, they couldn't, last summer when they brought in people to squash the riots and you couldn't tell, they had no identifying marks on their uniform or anything. And so to me, there was a lot of stuff that carried true on that, and they don't answer questions,
right. Because they don't even have answers, so they can't answer questions.
Right.
They're just grunt in there to get these people out. They're infected.
And I don't know if somebody, and then how I think this was before the show we mentioned this, but the idea that the guy, the lead character, I want to say his name is Dave. Is that right?
Dave. Yeah.
Yeah.
David,
he's apparently immune, but the organized response is so screwed up they can't figure it out.
Yeah.
He's trying to tell them, but
and the doctor comes up with a cure and they lose that too. So the incompetence. It is interesting though, looking at it now, because although we've all had ample opportunity to look at the incompetence of the government, right now the military is like the one aspect of government people still actually trust. But boy, are they just total 100% screw ups in this, from the first scene to the last. Everything just goes wrong. They're regimented. They're ill prepared, and they started the whole thing in the first place. It's their fault.
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing that struck me is that this is right when the truth about Watergate was really starting to come out. Now, when he released it, not when he made it, I don't think.
Right.
But when he released it, that was like about a week from when one of the guys, I think it was McCord, went to a judge and said, yeah, they're trying to keep us from telling you the whole story. And that was when everything blew up. And a little bit later, John Dean's fired, Haldeman and Harrigan resigned, and then you go through the whole thing. So it doesn't come to fruition for over a year, but we're finding out. And it isn't that everybody thought it was a long process. Let's put it that way, that everybody thought you could always trust the government. But from World War II on, until like the late 60s, you pretty much did trust everything the government said,
So when you think this movie would have had a better reception, but it didn't. It totally stiffed at the box office.
Yeah.
Partly because of the original name. I just want to say, we've gone through.
Is that the original name or is that the alternate name?
I thought that was a reissue name, but
Codename Trixie.
Codename Trixie, yeah.
God, that is the worst title in the history.
When you see the movie, you can see why they chose it. Yeah.
Oh, I can see why they have a reason. Doesn't matter. No one's going to go see a movie. Codename Trixie sounds like a Disney movie.
Or soft.
It's got young Kurt Russell and a bunch of the people who would show up on the Carl Burnett show, and it's about a cat named Trixie, and whatever. It writes itself.
Anyway, Doc, what are your first impressions of the movie, and how did you like it?
It's a Pam Grier novel. It's a Pam Grier movie. Foxy Brown, Codename Trixie.
Foxy. So obviously, I have seen the remake, and I knew about this movie, but yesterday or actually this afternoon was the first time I ever saw it. And I'd seen scenes from it and knew enough. I knew enough about it that I really wasn't attracted to go see it, right? It wasn't one that was high on my to-do list. So it was interesting that we picked it. And I actually really enjoyed watching it, not because of the film, because the film is very crude, like Chad said. It really is kind of raw, but there's so many messages in this and so much opinion woven into this film. And the crudeness, I think, was an attempt at a tool, because it wanted to feel like a documentary. It wanted to feel like you were there. It was almost pre-found footage, right? It was urgent. You were there with it. The dialogue is sloppy and over top each other. It doesn't feel orchestrated or, stuff like that. So I think there was a definite target with the approach. I just don't think it didn't really reach that mark. Now, having said that, when you start realizing when this was made, so you have to, like we were saying, you have to watch this movie knowing when it was made and when it came out, because the imagery, the thought patterns, the reaction to everything going on is based on that time. Ironically, it's not horribly different than now, but the Vietnam War was a thing, or the characters were, or some of them were in the Vietnam War, right? So that's how they all knew how to shoot so well, especially our lead characters. So the trust of the government and the army itself, especially after all the what is it, the school in
Kent State.
Kent State, thank you. That was I had a brain fart. So that was in there, and the imagery in here reflects that, even to the point where you get kind of a duplicate of, that one shot of the guy. What's it?
Laying on the ground with a woman.
Well, no, I was talking about setting himself on fire.
Yeah.
The
monk.
The monk, right. In this case, it was a priest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, George Romero's mind was very much in that zone when he made this movie, and the characters are reacting with that setup, and that's why all the scientists and the army guys are so, and even the police officers are so incompetent, right? That's the mindset. And when you think of it that way, the film kind of has a little bit more oomph to it, because that's the paranoia of that time. And distance from that, although in a weird way we still do, but it's different. It doesn't carry the same weight that I imagine it tried to achieve back in the day. But I don't know.
He did it the same. To me, he did the same style at the beginning of Dawn, where you're to a greater, and he succeeded to a greater extent on Dawn with that, where he's, you're following this SWAT teams around as they enter this the apartment buildings, the condos or whatever, and the TV footage with the one doctor that's in here trying to find the cure. He's in there. Yeah, he's in there. He did that again, I think, at the beginning of Dawn. That's what this reminded me of. A lot of the scenes in there. Yeah, Dr. Rausch. He's just missing an eye patch in this one.
Yeah.
But and he did it. He's really succeeded with this technique more in Dawn than he did here.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of got what he was doing. So.
Yeah, I mean, if they weren't so paranoid and reacted in such a way, the film wouldn't have happened the way it did.
Yeah,
It's a totally different film. So that's an important factor that drives this film, is that state of mind, that local color.
You know what I just wish, though? I wish the Crazies had been crazier. I feel like a kind of a chance got missed to show these people really going nuts and showing, like, having the kids go crazy and the little old ladies and everything else, where you get into that whole, we had to destroy the village in order to save it. I mean, this is what Vietnam vets will sometimes tell you, that they couldn't trust anyone. Just because someone's a woman or a child doesn't mean they're not hiding a grenade. That you get to the paranoid thing where and I think they should have shown more of that, and having these poor grunts on the ground now just feeling that they're completely surrounded by crazy people shooting everyone, whether they're crazy or not, because the fear would just be overwhelming. How many times do you see your guy, your friend get gutted by some, goober with a pitchfork before you realize none of these people are worth risking your life for?
That wasn't the perspective the film had, though. And also having all the extras. I don't know if you noticed, like when they were all going crazy in the auditorium, they were smiling and laughing and having a good time with it. It's like, I know that feeling.
This has got that let's get the whole town to be extris feel to it. And I know that feeling well, because they work cheap.
Yep, they do, and I think I've seen this happen. But it felt very low budget. It just felt like even more low budget than his other films.
It feels lower budget than Night of the Living Dead, although Night of the Living Dead was lower budget than this.
Yeah, he just had more control. He had more of a vision. I think this is more of a project than the vision. It's not not one of those things that are close and dear to his heart. I think Martin is probably a better
Yeah.
project for him.
Mhm.
You know, when you're thinking of this type of film.
I feel like it's like the required intermediate step to get to Martin and Dawn and
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in between this and Martin, he did O.J. Simpson, Juice on the Loose, a TV
Oh,
documentary.
scariest thing ever, maybe.
Oh,
All these prophetic movies.
Oh, my
Juice
God.
on the loose.
A
Yeah,
title
Juice.
that you couldn't predict. Yeah.
I know.
Mhm.
Little did he know.
Well, also that was the year 73 was the year O.J. Simpson got 2,000 yards, and he was the first
Hmm.
NFL back to do that. So I don't know if that's what the documentary was about.
Oh, I would imagine it was 74. So yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Had the whole world ahead of him. Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about our leads, which is Will McMillan as David and Lane Carroll as Judy. Right, they're a couple. She's a nurse, or is she a doctor?
She's a nurse.
She's
Yeah.
a nurse.
She's
Okay.
a- she's
And
a
then
nerd.
I'm not. What is Lane? What is David? What is he? What was his profession?
Fireman.
He was a fireman.
Fireman.
That's right.
Oh
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. Because she had to go and get him. So was
Could
his
you get
best
more
friend.
American? A fireman and a nurse.
Yeah. And so yeah, she's pregnant, and they're talking about getting married and everything. So they have a future ahead of them,
Yeah.
and this happens.
There was also talks of shaving this part right here out of the middle of his unibrow.
Well, did they say that? Did I miss that?
I thought I heard that, but I
Oh,
could
okay.
be wrong.
All right.
I could be wrong.
And
what
Chad
do we-
said, if I would have been a consultant.
What do we think of them? What do we think?
I thought they had a nice chemistry together. I thought the scene in the
Yeah.
beginning that kind of very efficiently, I appreciate this, very efficiently established who they were, what their situation was, what the stakes were, made you, I mean, they seemed likable.
Oh.
They didn't seem like movie stars, regular folks. And
They just
bad
seem
things
like
about
regular
that.
people.
Yeah.
Neither one. He's not
Yeah.
your normal handsome, square jawed,
Mhm.
leading man type. He looked like a regular dude. And so did she look like a regular. They just look like regular people, and that was really cool to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really liked her, and I was a little disappointed to see she really didn't do much else. I think she had
Yeah.
like 4 credits, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was amazing. She was amazing. Yeah.
She was in There's Always Vanilla, Hercules in New York.
You know, we
And-
noticed this, a lot of the Romero people who in these movies, Romero's movies, this is like the only thing they did. And I just wonder, these were local Pittsburgh folk
Mhm.
actors, but they stayed in Pittsburgh. They never moved out to Hollywood. And if you don't move out to Hollywood, unless there's some local genius making movies, you're not going to get too many opportunities.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, the Will McMillan, he has
Yeah.
63 credits, so he was in a little bit more stuff. He was in the TV show Werewolf. Anybody remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
was a sheriff in that. Christmas Evil, he was in that.
Yes.
Yeah. Three's Company. Everybody was in Three's Company. I mean.
No, of course. Yeah.
Oh, he was in
He was
Used
in-
Cars. Used Cars is one of my favorite comedies.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
yes.
That's a great movie.
He was just a police sergeant, so that makes sense. And lots of other films. What about the well, we got to talk about Lynn Lowry, right? Because
Oh,
Lynn
yeah.
Lowry
Let's
is in
talk
this,
about Lynn Lowry.
right? So
Oh,
this
yeah.
is one of her earliest roles, right?
Mhm.
If not her first. Let's take a look.
I Drink Your Blood, maybe. I think it was her first.
Is that first before this? Yeah, I Drink
Yeah,
Your Blood.
Shivers.
Shivers.
That came after, yeah. Cat People.
Which are 3, right? 3 infection movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
She's the queen of infection horror. She's just got a presence. There's you can't take your eyes off her when she's on the screen, even if she's not saying a word, as she often does not in some of these films. There's just your eye is just drawn to her. She's got that quality that only a few lucky folks have that really just makes her stand out in a scene.
she has a great death scene in this too.
Yeah, that was it was interesting, right? I mean, well, I like leading up to it, but after she got shot, it was like, oh, what?
Yeah.
I like that. I like.
You liked it,
That's not the world. She was in a world where that wasn't
Mhm.
an option.
right?
Yeah, she was in the. They gave her like a cameo in the remake where she's a crazy person riding a bike down the street in the middle of the night, when the military is rolling through.
Yeah, and she shows up at some of the conventions, some of the
Yeah.
horror conventions. So just the sweetest person you'd ever want to meet.
She is. She's really, really nice. And what I regret is the last convention I was at, I just had a brief conversation with her. I thought I only knew her from one or two things. And now we've done all those things. Like, wow, she was in a lot of cool stuff. I mean, you get to work with Romero, Cronenberg, and she's got some good stories to tell.
I think she's had a resurgence now with all the horror movies
people
in the last 10 years or so, with
folks who are making indie film and everything. She you can get her and put her in there, and you're going to get a good performance, and you can say, I've got a horror icon in my film. So look her up, folks, once we start making movies again.
There you go.
Lynn Lowry.
Lloyd Holler plays Colonel Peckham, who is brought in.
That was a close one.
Yeah, and takes charge, and he has one of the nude scenes.
He does.
Yeah.
Which apparently the townspeople were not happy with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, they so at the end when they go to airlift him out of there, he strips his suit off to go up in the helicopter, and the townspeople happened to be watching the scene, and they threw a fit that there was a nude guy in their town.
Yeah,
out in the open in the field, and they had to settle it with lawyers or something.
But the world didn't end.
Maybe there's a little racism involved, but in fairness, anytime a nude guy is helicopter around your town, it's probably not. But now there's another example of Romero's thing. Here's a black actor given a leadership role. And it's not a factor. It's not commented on. It's not something they dwell on. It's just the way things are. Romero was good like that. He was doing diversity before anyone even knew it was a concept.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I'm looking. I guess it's I don't know if I can find him. I guess it's Major Writer Harry Spillman. Right? Yep. Is the man in charge and he almost plays this like he's in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. It is just this close to being parody. And
a little over the top. Yeah.
They don't tell him. They don't tell him anything.
Yeah.
All of his information is wrong,
But when they start shooting at the building, the way he's like, I wonder if he's like a comedy star or something. Like comedy. He's done 9 roles, but I don't know.
Did you see what his next film credit was? They made a TV movie about Charles Colson, the guy in the Nixon administration that was born again. He did all kinds of dirty deals and things, but this guy played Nixon.
Wow.
It's hard. I'm not seeing it.
I'm not seeing it at all.
Now they do have the president. I don't see it. A lot of makeup. They do have the president is in this. All you see is the back of the head. Are they?
It's Romero, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it Romero? I was going to say
Romero's head. Yeah.
I was going to say they're pushing for that to be Nixon, right? Right.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Romero also, if you know how when the guys in the white suits were, you could hear the chatter between all of them, and it sounded like somebody was recording it in a high school gymnasium. You could hear Romero's voice here and there in some of those voices.
Oh, right.
Now, Bill Hintzman was a cinematographer of this. Bill Hintzman, of course, is the first zombie we see.
The cemetery zombie,
cemetery zombie in Night of the Living Dead. He also has a cameo. I think, Chad, you were sharing that with us, right?
Did I?
One of you guys.
Because I don't remember.
Oh, okay. He was the local who shoots all the feds.
That's right. That's right.
Hides behind the trees, sort of.
That's right. Yeah. Wow, what a difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. They do a lot of hiding behind trees that are
very small trees.
Very skinny. What do you? The little birch trees? Is that what you said?
Yeah, very.
Okay,
very
look.
They can't stop bullets.
The Northeast is not a deciduous, redwood forest. I mean, you got to hide behind the occasional birch tree or something. There's not a bunch of majestic chestnuts left anymore. So you do what you can. Still smarter than lining up in a big row with red coats.
Yeah.
Or showing up with these bright white suits that the only purpose they camouflage wise they might as well be day glow tie dye. But they do show blood real well.
They do.
Yeah,
And
the
that's
red
their main
paint
purpose.
hammer blood. That's
Yeah,
what that is.
but it works. It works.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
wait.
everyone says the blood in Dawn of the Dead is over the top and it was an accident from everything. I think Romero just really likes splashy red blood because this one looks
Sherwin
like
Williams
poster paint.
blood. Yeah.
Sherman Williams blood.
So did you see when Crank gets the headshot there?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking
that
about?
was actually pretty good. Yeah.
You see the string or the wire?
Oh
Yeah.
no, I didn't see it. Did you see it? Oh
Yeah.
no, I didn't know.
He almost missed his cue there. Wait,
Well,
they-
I think I'm
they
not
pull
even
it out?
sure. Yeah, it's like I think they use it to pull the hair plug out, right?
yeah, yeah.
I don't
Instead
know.
of a squib, it looked like they just yanked the
Old trick.
Yeah.
Squibs
works.
cost money.
It works.
It worked. It worked.
It did.
Very cool. Yeah.
happens pretty quickly. But we had some good red spurt and bubble and gurgle there.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it's really
love
restrained.
the girl with the broom.
The
Oh,
girl
no,
with
I
the-
was gonna
Yeah.
say,
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I love the girl.
That's
with
what I'm
the broom.
saying. I wish we had more of that, where the crazies, the people were actually crazy in different ways than just sort of, running around.
And it's
shooting.
the way Romero treated it as zombies too. They were always doing
Yeah.
something that they did when they were alive,
Right.
And I just thought that was a cool touch.
there's your code name, Trixie.
Code
Code name
Trixie.
Trixie.
Holy smokes, is that? I just cannot get over what a terrible, terrible title that is.
It sounds like a spinoff of the old TV show Alice.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh no.
Code name Trixie, y'all.
I still think it's a Pam Grier,
Yeah.
Foxy Brown spinoff or something.
This is a scene you were talking about earlier with
Yeah.
the grandma, and
I always like
Yeah, that's a great scene.
him walking up that staircase kind of reminds me of Judith O'Day doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh.
Early scene, Night of the Living Dead.
right, and the house looked very much like the house in Night of the Living Dead.
Yes,
When they
it
were walking
did.
down the hall, I was like, oh, I wonder if it's the same house.
Yeah, she walks up to him with that sweet grandma smile on her face, and then
That was awesome.
He's just there to help. And what does he get for his trouble?
Mhm.
Death by
George-
knitting needle. That's no fun.
Well, George, he doesn't pull punches. He'll let anybody have it. I mean, we get the kids burned in the fire from the
Oh,
fire.
yeah.
That's awful.
Like,
That was
one of
terrible.
them, next time we see him, they're putting the thing over the, putting the blanket
Yeah.
over.
oh, and the dad's in the car yelling about, "You're ruining my trees! Don't let my trees burn!"
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yep.
Hey, that is a tip though. Americans, and this is proven time and time again, it's not always a good box office move to harm kids early in your movie.
Or dogs.
Or dogs.
Right.
Yeah, John
Right.
Carpenter insists that Assault on Precinct 13 bombed because he kills that little girl with the ice cream cone.
But
in
it's the
first 5
best
minutes.
scene in the movie.
It's the best
Oh!
scene in the movie, but
It's
we
one of
are a
the best
small,
scenes in the
select,
movie.
child-hating group, apparently, because
Only because you never see that. Nobody's got the balls to kill a kid like that. But
Yeah.
there we go. John Carpenter did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Romero did
it makes the film dangerous, and I think a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
a lot
Yeah,
of people
yeah.
react to it very strongly.
Mhm.
Because if they're going to do that, you don't know what else they're going to do.
yeah,
Well, we
anything
do have
goes.
something else that happens in this movie that was sort of it was pretty early. I'm trying to think. I guess there are hints at things like this earlier, but incest with the father and the
Yeah, that was
Lynn Lowry character.
a little.
His
But I
craziness
think,
took a bad turn.
I think that was due to
Yeah.
his infection, maybe. That
Okay, but
Didn't
it
something
was
like
still-
that also happen in Shivers? I mean, that
yeah, I think so.
that that's like the ultimate. That's
It's
that's
taboo.
when you know.
It's taboo,
Yeah,
right?
right. Really, that's the two big taboos, and both Cronenberg and Romero kind of danced around with that. We had the dead baby in Rabbit too.
Mhm.
We have a lot of weird things. That and Brood. Oh my god.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Well,
Don't get me started on the Brood, okay?
Now, okay, so a lot of the film has this tension about whether or not they're going to blow up the town. And I was like, I really don't know the ending of this. Are they going to go, Return of the Living Dead here? And
Mhm.
Yeah.
what do you guys think of that aspect? That they had it all planned out. That it was going to be a mover. There was a crash, and oops, the bomb went off. Oops.
Yeah.
The guy literally goes, "Oops."
and well, that was their plan B. Plan A was to try to get this contained, which they sort of did. I mean, the sad thing is, toward the end, you get the feeling they consider this kind of a success. Okay, things could have gone better, but overall,
you did a great job. Now we're going to move you to the next city where
now we're going to send you to Louisville, a slightly bigger thing. After that, San Francisco, whatever. And next thing you know, we're in Dawn of the Dead. So yeah, the bomb, considering how badly everything went, and since all these infected people are going to die, it probably would have been a mercy just to set off the bomb and end it there. But it was too late. This whole thing clearly, I mean, they're saying it. It does kind of remind me a little bit of the whole COVID thing. They're like, truckers could have been coming in and out of this town every day, as they do. We're way too late. They're just like, let's just assume none of that happened. Let's go. Let's hope for the best and see what happens. And as we've learned, if 2020 taught us anything, it's that you are a fool to assume that the best case scenario is going to happen, or has a slight likelihood of happening.
Yeah.
But that is the natural instinct, to just hope for the best and hope that it goes away, and woo, dodged a bullet. And
Are they being optimistic or are they being naive? There's a crazy.
I think we naturally are optimistic. Always, people.
I think it's a combination of both.
Think about it. Think of every movie and every scene, every movie. You see someone marches you into the woods with a gun to your head and you're holding a shovel. There is no scenario where this ends well. You'd be better off just swinging the shovel and hoping for that 1 in a million chance that you knock the guy out before he shoots you. But most of us would just keep on walking, hoping against hope that somehow this is going to work out. We just are naturally optimistic in the face of almost certain doom.
Well, the 70s, it's got the 70s ending, and actually the remake does too.
Yeah,
that's a pretty downer ending.
Yeah, it is a downer ending,
but it's a good movie too.
And the fact that the guy is immune, and I think he knows he's immune, and he's just like, you know what?
He's just like, I'm not telling anybody.
These guys don't deserve the cure. I've lost everyone that was important to me, and that kind of nihilistic. Cabin in the Woods kind of ending where I could make things better, but this species doesn't deserve it. That's pretty glum.
You think about it, his girl was taken, his baby was taken, his friend was taken.
You'd be sore.
Yeah.
So in this movie, literally everything has failed. The military has failed, the government has failed, science has failed, and even just the common decency of us looking out for each other in the end, that's failed too. Nothing is going to save us.
That's pure Romero. We could have saved ourselves, but we were too selfish, or we were
God's not even in the picture. The closest we come to God is a priest setting himself on fire. So don't be looking there.
No.
Yeah, it's a pretty sad look at things.
Yeah.
Sad.
The 70s.
Yeah. But that's a signature Romero thing. We would have been okay, but we couldn't save us from ourselves.
Well, it's not a whole lot different from Night of the Living Dead ends with Dwayne Jones being shot. He's the one survivor of that area anyway, and then.
So what is the human flaw that makes us fail in Romero's vision of us? Is it our refusal to admit that we're not in control and just trying to keep control as things are falling apart and just making it worse? Because it is interesting to see,
especially in Dawn.
It feels like
they tried to keep some sense of normalcy in the mall when outside the walls, the apocalypse is there waiting to beat the door down. Yeah,
it's all about the inevitability of it all. It's just inevitable.
Yeah.
Humans are going.
It's weird too, because if you ever met George Romero, if you're lucky enough to meet him at a convention, he was a jovial, happy guy. Loved the fans. I mean, sweet. Not at all a Debbie Downer at all. But boy, his films, not a positive view of humanity.
I think they have an opportunity to make this one more time, given the past year. But I don't know if anybody want to go see it. We certainly have experienced a lot that
Doc, do you think
The
there's going to be a
crazies
lot of
might
COVID?
be the ones that aren't sick, right?
Right,
Is that what
right,
you're-
right.
Do you think there's going to be a lot of COVID-related films, or COVID-inspired films, or are we just going to say, let's never speak of this again?
There already have been. That's the
Mm.
crazy thing. There's already a couple of films out there. Yeah, I think they'll do it. I don't know if they'll go all in, but yeah, we're going to see them. We just much like the people in this film. We were, there's so much parallel between what happens in this movie and what happened in the past year that it was kind of spooky. Except the extremity of it all, right? There's no crazy, except for the White House. But the
yes, sir.
there's crazies, all right. It's just not the.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so except for that extreme, there's so many parallels that I don't know. It's interesting. Like things are so different, but yet they're still the same.
Yeah.
Well, I think it is still the same, and I'm not going to get into politics, but I'll give you an example from I think it was today or else it was yesterday. But supposedly, there's this new, more contagious strain from Great Britain, and they had. I saw the surgeon. I think he's the Surgeon General on TV in an interview telling them, "Well, we've been restricting travel from Great Britain or UK for like 95% of travel's been cut. So I think we're in pretty good shape there." And I'm like, I just started laughing, and like 2 hours later comes a report from Colorado. I was like,
Colorado.
What world are you living in? I mean, it doesn't take that much, So I think it's the same thing. It's this, we're trying our best. We're doing our damnedest, and I got to be optimistic about it, or why would I do anything? But sometimes the worst happens.
Yeah. And, I don't want to put the blame on artists or anything, but are films like this part of the reason that people just won't do the simple advice that they get from the government? Wear a mask, do this. There's just this negative feeling we have that they're either the best you can hope for is that they're just incompetently wrong. If they're not being actually maliciously evil, don't trust anything they say. And that message is like repeated over and over and over. Most movies you see, even if the military is shown a positive light, it usually turns out that there's someone in the military who's bad and he's, responsible for everything. The bad guys are almost always some aspect of the good guys, that there's some small group within the good guys that are betraying us. So,
I think you're asking is art imitating life or is life imitating art? And
one feeds on the other. Yeah.
I'm not really sure I want to answer that.
I have far more skepticism about the government based on living through Watergate than I do any movie I've ever watched. Now we have people that are like and I went through a period where I was fixated on the Kennedy assassination, and I read and watched everything I could find about that, thinking there had to be some conspiracy. And but I came down from that. Let's put it that way. So, but there are things now with the internet, etc. I can't even go on like social media pages for local news channels, because no matter what they post, people are on there posting their
crazy pants.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know where it comes from, but it's
well, I think
the feed is there and it's unending.
Yeah, for this movie, I think it's a reflection of the world around him.
Yeah.
Romero's most definitely making a comment about, the state of the populace, what they're thinking, their paranoia, maybe
that's what he's good at.
And maybe
that's what he's good at.
Right, and maybe even agreeing with them by showing how incompetent the authority is. So I mean, this is a very political film. It's
oh, absolutely.
It's not so much about the virus or any of that. It's the perception of how the government is handling things, and the people in charge, how they're handling things, and that's where Romero thrives, is showing those flaws of people who are in charge. and the errors and everything that you sort of pulling back the blanket on that and showing what everything's really about.
Yeah. But in fairness, it didn't really make for a successful movie. Now in Dawn,
Right.
when he had kind of a chance to sort of redo this in Dawn, the failures of the government, the military are still there, but they're relegated to a very small part of the film, just
Right.
enough to let you know, don't count on these guys. Cavalry ain't coming. Let's get on with the story and our characters.
Right.
Well, the conflict isn't as entertaining as as the social comment is. So there's a lack of true conflict, right? The conflict's almost it. I mean, there is conflict, right? But you got the two opposing sides, but it isn't. There isn't really a good versus evil here, right? It's neither side is evil, neither side is good.
Right. They're just incompetent.
They're just incompetent, right? They're just, and that's, I mean,
you've got two sides who are really have no idea what's going on and how to handle the situation, and I don't know. You just get the feeling that everybody's trying to do the best that they can, but they have no idea how to do it.
Well, everybody downstream is doing the best they can with the information they have. It's
right.
Where it gets clustered higher, and there's not. Yeah, you're right. There's nothing they can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're doing the best they can, it can be at cross purposes.
Yeah.
Well, except for the lead, they were all The Walking Dead already, right? So they were all just to steal a term.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've talked about this a lot more than we thought we were going to go into this. So I think we should wrap up as we always do every week.
Yeah. Bill cursed us and said, "Well, we're not going to have much.
This won't be too long."
That's the curse right there that it's going to go long.
All right. We are recording this as we are ending the year 2020. This will be coming out as we're starting the year 2021. Talk about optimism. We are all eager to have the most optimistic view of 2021. Although there are some memes out there that are hilarious about the 2021 being Michael Myers and all these other things. But anyway, we're gonna keep doing this. Anyway,
we're at least optimistic to think we'll be here 2 weeks.
At least some of us.
And Happy New Year to all our listeners.
But Happy New
we
Year.
really appreciate you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Happy holidays and all that good stuff. And thank you for listening and watching for the past year. And we hope you stick with us next year as we keep
so much
to these wonderful films of the 70s. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give a final thought. And we're going to pick a scene, each one of us, that stood out. When it gets down to me last, it's going to be harder. But we'll each pick a scene, what it meant to us, and then kind of dive into your final thoughts of that. Chad Hunt, you are first, sir. So have at it.
I am first. The favorite scene. Oh my gosh, I think somebody already said it, but the granny scene is just was out of. I had no idea that was going to happen. But death by knitting needle is, that was, and then she just sits down and keeps knitting,
She wasn't done.
Hi, how you doing? She says. Yeah. Any last thoughts about the film?
Yeah, it's like we've talked about. It's not Romero's best film, but I think he really tried to get the ideas he was trying to get across. I think he did that well. Production wise and all, they were restricted by their budget, but Romero's known for his social commentary and what he has to say, which I think kind of outshines whatever budgetary limitations they had. And it's kind of interesting to watch it now in the face of what we're all dealing with, as far as the COVID and all that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting film, and I would recommend it. I would really recommend it to anybody who has not seen it.
Nice. All right, Bill Mulligan, sir.
Well, he took my favorite scene,
I
but
know he did. Is there
so
another
I'll
one?
just
Is there another one?
I'll just put in
The person
ladies
going first.
ladies sweeping the field. Okay,
Yeah,
just that
yeah,
little
okay.
touch of genuine craziness among the crazies. And yes, I think of all of Romero's films, this one and maybe Bruiser probably seem the most dated. And that's a danger, of course, when you make a political film. Like I would tell everybody now, please don't make any Donald Trump films. They'll be dated by the time they're released, even if they're released in a couple of weeks. So the time to strike on those is early. And even if you manage to capture the zeitgeist and get it in there, they're not going to have any lasting power. There's a reason why the Hammer films are lasting, because they're set in a time that doesn't ever get dated. It was dated when they got released. So, it does have that quality, that dated quality that the Living Dead films don't. Because, because it became more metaphorical, and I think that was a better idea. But I do find it an interesting film. Like I said, it's kind of that bridge between night and dawn, and it's interesting. It shows a guy whose reach maybe exceeds his budget, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so definitely worth watching, and we've given a shout out to the remake. I mean, here's an example where I like remakes where they take a film that has some germs of really good ideas or everything, but maybe didn't have the budget, or maybe it has become dated, but there's still a fundamentally good thing here, and update it. And I think that's good. Do that with more films like that. Don't take something that's already a classic. It cannot be improved. I know. Let's make Casablanca and do it right this time. Stop. There's lots of films out there that would benefit from a reevaluation, a relook, a modern or reimagining, an update. So watch both of them. You don't think you'll have a good time?
Yeah. Just to comment on that, thankfully, Blumhouse is going to remake The Exorcist. Hey, we live in that world. You guys know that's happening, right? Look at poor Chad.
Did you say thankfully?
Well, there was some irony or
irony.
Sarcasm. That's just
a little bit of irony. Yeah,
Lord have mercy.
Jeff
Mohr,
just
doomed to fail. Doomed to fail.
Oh my God, I'm shattered by that news.
All right, Jeff. What? Yeah, I just totally derailed the whole show.
Yeah,
what is your favorite scene? One that stood out to you? And comment?
The Exorcist remake part. That's what really got me.
They're both. Those are both great scenes that Chad and Bill took. I'm going to take. I know there's other ones, but I'm going to take Lynn Lowry when she gets shot. Her
nice.
Her version of crazy.
Yeah.
Sort of turning into a flower child with the soldiers, and their orders are to shoot if they don't obey what they tell them to do, and she was not capable of doing that. So
was she literally portrayed as a sheep?
Well, yeah, she was with the sheep. Yep.
Oh,
and they shoot her, and she turns around and goes, "Oh." And
that was great. That was a great.
Doc, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I almost laughed out loud. I mean, could you be more student film symbolism and everything? The sheep running through. It's like, wow, that's awesome.
And it was great, though. It was a great scene.
Yeah, and apparently she had worked out this elaborate death scene because she was going to die on camera, And then when she gets there, Romero tells her to just go, and fall down.
Good choice.
Yeah, it was good. I like that. I liked it
too.
It was a good death for her. Yeah,
and she jokes about it. I think this is definitely worth watching. It's not the. I'm trying to think of how to. It's worth watching. It's rough, but I think there's a lot of messages, some more blatant than others. Like herds of sheep, etc. But it's actually fits really well with what's going on now with, people telling each other different things and thinking they have the story and doing things that are counterproductive, and they don't really have the right information, almost like there was alternative facts or something that they were spreading around. and I'm sorry, I hope I didn't twinge anybody because we try not to be political. It just fits what's happened in the last year.
Yes, it does.
So yeah, go watch it. It's out there. It's available. There's a who was it? Arrow released that set of those 70s Romero films within the last couple of years. So you can buy that individually, and it's also somebody else made it. Blue Underground, maybe did a Blu-ray. I shouldn't say company names without knowing it for sure, but yeah, it's worth a watch, and you know, you're not going to be enlightened. You're not going to feel enlightened and happy at the end.
I think if you're watching Romero film, you should be ready for that. Okay, so my favorite scene is going to be yet another comparison to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I think there is actually so much in this film and Attack of the Killer Tomatoes that are another sequence of parallels. They shoot down a helicopter. And I knew it was going to happen when I saw the helicopter.
But this one was on purpose.
But yet it's still a helicopter crash. But it's the old-fashioned Hollywood helicopter crash, where the helicopter goes behind a mountain or a hill. And then you get an explosion.
A ball of fire.
Right. And it's like, how much do I love that? How much do I love that they just want straight, obvious Hollywood trick?
Yeah.
I mean, it works, right? And we see it so much, especially
and you don't have to buy a new helicopter.
Right.
Off
a nice little boom on the other side of the hill. And
it worked for the 2011 The Thing remake.
There you go. It works a lot.
Hey, they're still using it.
Yeah. But Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, no. Here's what we're gonna do. Anyway,
well, that's really the difference between a scripted crash and an unscripted crash.
Yeah. But I am going to just say that whole scene with them running through the woods and being chased, and which ends with our guy getting shot in the head after he shoots everybody but one. Gotta keep that eye behind you. Thought the snake was going to get him. They show a snake. I said, "What's he going to do?"
I thought so too.
No, that's just
misdirection.
Red herring. So. This is crude. It's rough around the edges. It feels documentary style. It feels very low budget. Even there's the dialogue has like a slight echo behind it that feels like it isn't mastered properly and all this kind of stuff. But if you're a fan of Romero, you're going to recognize faces in this movie, and you're going to recognize some others like Lynn Lowry as well. If you're a completist, and many of us horror fans are, you definitely want to catch this at some point. If you're a student of film, there's a lot to learn from this film. Probably, I would imagine. Bill, you can back me up on this. On what to do and what not to do, and where to insert your opinions, where not to. Maybe. If you look at how this film, when it was made, how it tracked, and the decisions that were made, a lot of those things you're not in control of, because who knew when you made a movie in 2019 that by the time it was going to get released, it was going to get bumped back another year or two. So it's a lot of this stuff is just out of your hands. But anyway, tangent. I recommend watching it. I actually had a really good time with it. It is so 70s though. In almost every aspect of it. But since I love the 70s so much, I kind of dug that. I dug it. So check it out. It's a Romero film, and it's more a political satire than a horror film. Yeah. And I would say satire. I think it's
it'd be I agree with that.
There's times when it's, I think, pure satire. Intentionally or not. All right, well, there you go. We did an hour on this film.
Woo.
Bill Mulligan, you cursed us.
Wrong again, as always. Often wrong, never in doubt. That's me.
But this that was our review for The Crazies from George A. Romero, 1973. Wow. I remember that year too. That was one of the big years. I remember before Watergate, right? And then how Watergate changed everything most notably afternoon television.
All
Because
right.
I couldn't watch my afternoon television because of the damn Watergate.
All the news. Yeah.
I was so pissed off, and I don't think it ever came back after that.
I remember
you only had 3
13.
channels. Yeah.
That's the year I turned into a news junkie. I watched all those hearings.
That's the year I turned into a teenager. So, yes. Oh, by the way, I just turned 60 for those keeping track.
Oh, happy birthday!
Oh no, there's nothing happy about turning 60.
Happy
Except I guess
birthday,
not making
Billy.
it to 60. So okay. Yeah.
We'll still call you Billy.
I'd say that depends, but you might throw it at me.
Oh,
What's in it depends?
All right. With that, we better get out of here.
You'll get your chance, Bill.
But we have an announcement, Jeff. What is our next film, sir?
Ooh.
Well, I don't know. Did you pick
We did pick.
the TV movie or the other one?
We picked the TV movie. What is it?
Yes.
Well, then we're doing Gargoyles.
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 Gargoyles. Goyles. Gargoyles.
Goyles. Hey, lady.
Cornell Wilde and
Bernie Casey.
Bernie Casey.
Casey.
Yes.
Bernie Casey.
Yeah.
Yep. I haven't seen this since it aired, and I remember watching it when it aired. Now
Same.
I've seen scenes from it.
Mhm.
They show up every once in a while when you're in.
Let me give you a clue. It wasn't no good.
Yeah, it might be the best thing ever. Oh my gosh, this will
The
be
best
interesting.
thing ever.
This will be interesting. It's on Amazon Prime for any of those who want to catch it before then.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So enjoy it, and we'll see you in 2021.
I think I'm going to skip the 10-second fast forward button and just fake my way through the whole
Oh no!
Wow.
podcast.
Wow.
Hard.
Well, you could change the that would change the slow motion into regular motion.
Yeah. It's
I
like,
know. Oh, Jeff, Bill, Chad, thank you for joining me. This was fantastic. Let's say goodnight.
Excellent.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Not everybody.
Gruesome magazine.